Have you noticed the lack of empathy and compassion as the years go by on the internet? People became more cold and malicious, hiding behind an online mask, thinking that there were no consequences to their words, even though they wouldn't say the same things in person in real life. They start trusting sources that are filled with bias, influencing their way of thinking and their way of life. People's opinions are no longer being respected. It's either you're right or I'm right. No in between. Discussions? Barely existing. They just can't be had without intense arguments and without people taking it personally. After all, to them, your words, what you look like, and any rumors going around you are their first window into your personality. No matter what, they look at you as a random person online first. Not a real person, but an online person. Now, to some of you, these particular lines might sound oddly familiar, especially if you played Arknights Chapter 7 recently. And you're right, it is. In fact, Amiya says something like this to a side character named Guard.
Guard, I think you misjudged Rosmontis the same way the young lady misjudged you. What you look like and any rumors going around about you are anyone's first window into your personality. No matter what you did, they'd be looking at you as reunion first.
Reunion, reunion, reunion. As players, we know. Reunion always had a negative connotation to many people. Maybe due to the fact that they had infected members, or perhaps due to the fact that they caused a lot of destruction and pain to a vast majority of people. But not all are like this. There are some like Guard, who want things to get better. And yet, there is a singular fear amongst everyone regardless of faction. A fear to find the truth. A fear to realize that what they know isn't always the truth. That there is more to discover and learn. That they are indeed wrong. It's not easy for people to admit when they're wrong, and then change their mind accordingly. I think one of those good examples is Wei in Chapter 7. In particular, the beginning of Chapter 7. It's a painful and murky path that can seriously hurt someone's ego and pride. But, as Amiya said, if we never got past the surface, we never know anything, let alone learn to trust. If no one tries to find the truth, then no matter how hard we work to sow its seeds, they won't germinate. And that's exactly what we see with the infected and the non-infected in general in the world of Arknights. The non-infected only see the infected as a burden, as people who are lower than them, as supposedly disgusting alien-like beings, while the infected see the non-infected as the privileged, the ignorant, the monsters, the violent, and the unbearable. But underneath all those labels, we as players can see beyond all that. We know that not everyone are like those labels. We've seen it ourselves throughout the entire story so far. In fact, people at Dodesu are a mix of infected and non-infected. If someone didn't tell you who was infected and who wasn't, I bet you'd hardly notice if you were actually in the world of Arknights. It just goes to show that those labels are meant to raise fear, to not build trust amongst one another, to not see the truth, to not unite as one, so that the greedy ones in power can remain in power. And quite frankly, it's quite painful to see this when playing the game. Because isn't that our reality? Whether it's the online world or even in real life as well? The lack of empathy and compassion, the immediate judgment, when they themselves wouldn't want to be judged, using all kinds of excuses to further their maliciousness. The fear that the people who they're insulting and being malicious towards is actually a human being like them. That they would need to take responsibility for their words one day. That the other can't possibly understand the pain or anger that they feel on a regular basis. And many things like that. Now, of course, not everyone is like that. But I'm sure you've experienced something along those lines before too, right? Whether it's online or in real life. So that does lead me to my next question. How can someone understand your pain, your suffering, if you've never explained it or said it aloud? I feel like a good example of this issue is Chen. At first glance, she seemed like a star, unreachable, cold-hearted, and a typical so-called non-infected. But we later learned that this isn't really the case, because she herself is uninfected. And with her self-hatred and not being able to do anything as an infected for the infected in Lungmen, and not being told anything by Wei, and being treated almost like a puppet by that same person, it obviously led to the trust between them to shatter. Not even the greater good, and what's best for her was enough to salvage that broken relationship. And because of that greater good and what's best for her, she had to lie to everyone around her, lie to herself, all for the sole purpose of protecting Lungmen. Or at the very least, that's how she convinced herself to keep going. And what happened in the end? Everything blew up. All the lies and manipulation created a situation where communication and respect weren't reciprocated between Chen and Wei, which ended up leading to the ultimate loss of that connection between them. Everything that Wei worked towards disappeared, just because of that single fear. The fear to not see the truth. The fear to look beyond the surface of Chen. She wasn't a puppet, a figurehead, a symbol, unlike what Wei keeps saying. She was a person. Someone who had dreams and her own opinions and desires. Someone who wanted the best for people, including the infected. And when the argument at the beginning of Chapter 7 happened, it was much too late. Yes, it was a much needed conversation between the two, but by the time it happened, it very well should just be considered as too late for them. She who never spoke her truth speaks, and he who avoided her truth is finally forced to listen to her words. And yet, in the end, they never came to an understanding. Why? Because such a conversation shouldn't be done once. It has to be done multiple times despite how painful and uncomfortable it is. But unfortunately, that's not something that they can do in the future anymore. Instead, it led to an unfortunate outcome, where they couldn't fully reach a point where they could understand each other's pain, since that was the very first time they spoke up about their own pain and suffering. But despite this sad thing, there is a positive in all of this. In fact, this vulnerable and emotionally charged argument that was seen by Amiya showed her that one shouldn't judge another by their title and by the rumors, and that not everything that you see and hear is the truth, someone's real truth. But once a person gets past that surface and learns that someone's truth, then trust can finally be properly built between them. So while Chen and Wei's connection broke from this argument, I would say that Amiya's connection with Chen actually strengthened due to her seeing Chen's own truth, which then led her to trust her even more than before. After thinking of it in this way, I would like to believe that when Amiya talked to Guard about Rosmontis, she was potentially thinking about herself, Chen, and Wei, about that single conversation in the office. And while not all of us on the internet can be vulnerable with one another, or be empathetic and compassionate to others in the comments and messages, or even have the initial assumption that the other person is not like you who knows everything that you know, I do wonder what it would be like if everyone acted like Amiya. Would the world have more empathy and compassion? Would it be warmer than what we experience now? If we all knew that not everything we see on the internet is the truth, then would we treat others with more respect and honor? Could we finally notice when someone who might be smiling, someone who's spreading positivity, is actually someone who is physically sick all the time and wants to be freed from that pain? Or when someone who might be angry, someone who spreads negativity, is actually someone who's very depressed and is also a potential victim of abuse? Well, I don't have the answers to this just from reading Arknights chapter 7. There is one thing that I do know. To be like Amiya is to be that empathetic and compassionate person that you've always wanted in your life, whether it's online or offline or both. For that's when we will not miss the seeds of truth that others around you have sowed in order for them to germinate, to build the trust that people need in their life to move forward, to just live. Like how Amiya was able to look past Chen's surface and saw her truth, as it was during that argument between Chen and Wei, we too should probably do the same as what she did. Why? It's so that we don't end up like Wei, who lost Chen in the end, and we don't become another Chen who held the important conversations way too late with the people she cared most about. Instead, we should strive to be like Amiya. And I'm not saying this just because she's the main character and because she's the leader of Dodesu. Instead, it's because of what she said in the conversation between Guard and herself. Because you need to have the courage and wisdom that she has to face that fear, face that truth, whether it's your truth that you have trouble looking at or others, and looking beyond the surface of what others show, including yourself, with empathy and with compassion. Because in the end, the unchanging truth is that not everything you see is real. Not everything you see is the truth. And with that, I'll leave you to your thoughts with Amiya's exact words.
What you look like and any rumors going around about you are anyone's first window into your personality. No matter what you did, they'd be looking at you as reunion first. If we never got past the surface, we'd never know anything, let alone learn to trust. If no one tries to find the truth, then no matter how hard we work to sow its seeds, they won't germinate.
And with that, we've reached the end of this video. If you're still watching, then thank you very much. I've personally been looking forward to creating this kind of video where I can explore how we as players can connect deeper to the story of Arknights and learn to better understand ourselves through it, as yet another way to grow as a person. And this was for a while now that I really wanted to create, so I'm really grateful that you've watched the entire video. Now, if you do enjoy watching this kind of video and would like more of it, then please make sure to give this a like, comment down below, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. The more support, the more likely the next video will be made, so I'm looking forward to what all of you guys will say down below, and all the likes, and I suppose people joining my server too. In the meantime, I'll be working on the next video essay, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Gathering intel.
I'll protect everyone! Try some of my specialties!
An eye for an eye.
Try some of my specialty! Try some of my specialty! 喧嘩しないでよ! Anyone hungry?
freeze, timely rain. Now,
That's not my specialty!
this is the place.
A tooth for a tooth.
Anyone hungry? That's not my specialty! Push forward, Commander! Hurrah! はい普段通り釘を打てば大丈夫 Push forward, Commander! Hurrah! 言う通りにしますねはいエリアはまだまだ持ちますよ
Branch and bone bear weeds. Mounds and ruins bloom fields.
指示をどうぞドクター
Clear skies for Qingming. Rain clouds for Guoyu.
That's not my specialty!
Ready when you are.
喧嘩しないでよ
My toxicant is ready.
指示をどう気兼ねを引くあはいちゃんと聞いてます That's not my specialty! I'm here to help! That's not my specialty! Here's something yummy for you!
Mission accomplished.